Hey guys, welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. Today's episode is all about neutral Dollar Tree farmhouse DIYs, and I am so excited because I have 10 of them to show you. If you like crafting DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, or even Dollar Tree DIYs, I would love if you would consider subscribing. And if you do like what you see in today's video, remember to hit that thumbs up. But let's get right into the DIYs. Right now at Dollar Tree, they have these darling signs in their nautical area, and I'm just going to take off this little seashell because I'll use that for something else. And yes, this sign is beautiful the way that it is, but you guys, these signs right here are the exact same size as Dollar Tree's calendar pages. So if you have a favorite calendar page that you want to display or looking for something easy to do to kind of jazz up your decor, this is the perfect sign to get. So just keep that in mind. So all I'm doing is just taking my paint scraper, and you saw me remove that seashell, and now I'm just going to slip it underneath that frame, and I'm just going to go around the entire frame to break it free. And you can kind of see that there's a little bit of paper. I just wanted to be very gentle with that frame because I didn't want it to break. Now I love this farmhouse page here with that darling wreath. It's very neutral, and I just absolutely love it. And so that's what I chose to put on mine. Now watch this, you guys. Look at how easy this paper tears off of this. I don't know if all the signs are going to be that way, but I was absolutely floored that that came off that easy. So now I'm just going to take some black paint because I thought that would match that calendar page well. You could leave this whatever color was on there would be totally fine and skip this step and make it even easier. I just thought that black would match a little bit better with that calendar page and with my decor. And now I'm just taking a little bit of the purple glue stick. This is from Elmer's, and I'm just going to go around the edges really well to make sure. And then I don't do super a ton in the middle, just enough to hold that calendar page down because we are going to glue that frame on the top of it that will also help it stick. And so I just kind of center that before placing it down. You have a little bit of wiggle room to kind of move it around and get it centered, all of that fun stuff. And then I'll smooth it out, and I also grab my brayer just to make sure that it gets any bubbles or anything like that completely out, and that way it adheres to everywhere where the glue was placed. I just take the end of a paintbrush and stick that through those little holes there because I want to place that little hanging tag back on it. And then I am just going to take my hot glue is all I use, and I'm just going to glue each section on. Now this frame came off in one piece, but when I went to glue it on, I realized it was going to be easier to kind of break them apart and glue each one on individually. So that way I could have a little bit more control over where it went and the spacing and all of that. So that's why I ended up taking and totally disassembling the frame. It's super easy to do. I mean, it's just held together by a little bit of like the paper that was left on the back of it. So, I mean, it was literally just like ripping them apart. And as you just saw, I used my brayer a couple of times just to help get that pressed down really well and evenly. And on this top piece, you just match up the little holes that are there because I do want to place that hanging little beaded hanger from it. And then you just take, what I did is I took a little bit of white chalk paint on a chip brush and kind of went over the edges. This just kind of gave it a little bit more of a farmhouse look. I always like to distress a little bit there. And then I just replaced this little beaded hanging thing from it. And I had a couple of extra beads that were the same size, and I thought it would look better to have a few more beads. So I just placed those on there. Now it looks cute with this little thing hanging down like this, or you can hang it from the tag. Either way. I just love that these signs are in Dollar Tree right now and that they are the exact size of these calendar pages because there are some beautiful pages. I'm sure you guys have seen so many DIYs with these, but this is so simple to be able to display in this way. Anyway, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this one. This is another project that I absolutely love. It's one of my most favorites of all the projects that I have done from Dollar Tree. So I'm just taking some garden fencing, and I am going to cut off the little stakes at the bottom, and then also these little latches that come on the side that you would use to hook like another piece into it. And so that way we've got a little bit more of a flat surface area to work with on the edges. Now I am just taking some zip ties and I'm going to zip tie this together so that way it makes kind of a cylinder shape here. I'm going to make a bird cage using this. So I just want to make sure that this is really tight together. These little zip ties are from Dollar Tree. They're just found in the automotive section, and you get a pack. There's like black ones and red ones. So they're super nice to have on hand and everything. So I am now taking some embroidery hoops, and I am going to, the size that I needed was the outer ring of the embroidery hoop, so I'm just taking the metal pieces off. Now if you wanted to keep this completely to Dollar Tree, you would just use some like Easter basket handles, or like the pail, sand pail handles or something like that would probably work really well also. So I'm just going to hot glue these in kind of in a crisscross pattern to make the top rounded dome to the bird cage. This part did take a little bit of time because I wanted to make sure that it was all like put together really well. So there was a lot of gluing and then clamping and letting the glue dry, moving on to the next area. And then even with at the very top, I wanted to make sure that there was not like a big space or anything between all the embroidery hoops where they met. So I was gluing each layer there on as well and clamping that. So just beware that it took a little bit of time to do this, but it looks really nice in the end. Now I did get these little finials. This would be completely optional, but I found these at Hobby Lobby in a pack of like 3 or 4, and I'm just going to cut that little end piece off and then glue this on the top. Now I take this out to spray paint it. You could paint this any color that you wanted. I can think of so many different fun colors it would be to paint this, but I chose to do mine white because I wanted to put a plant in it and have that greenery pop against the white, but so fun to do so many other colors. So I just make sure I give a really good, takes a couple of coats to get the inner part of that garden fencing covered. And then I take it inside, and after it's all dry, and I'm going to use my emery board, and I'm going to just kind of rough this up so that black from the garden fencing peeks through, so it looks like it's been wrought iron that was painted that is now kind of wearing off, I guess. Now, since the top, the embroidery hoop, does not have that black color underneath, if I was to sand it, obviously it would just be the natural bamboo color that comes through. And so I am just using some elephant chalk paint. You could use mineral, whatever color chalk paint or paint you wanted to use that kind of had that darker tone to it to kind of make it look like it matches the garden fencing. But look at how cute this looks when it's all done. I think this turns out so cute. I love putting plants underneath this. This is one of my most favorites. Hey guys, it's me, Emily. I want to take just a minute to tell you about something really exciting. I have partnered with Skillshare and want to tell you about them. First of all, it is because of amazing sponsors like Skillshare that I am able to keep bringing you DIY inspiration. So what is Skillshare? Skillshare is an online learning community for creative and curious people just like you and me who come together and find inspiration and take the next step in their creative journey. With Skillshare, you get access to thousands of inspiring classes which are taught by industry leaders and working professionals. I have always loved learning new ways to create, but with being a mom and having a busy schedule, taking in-person classes just has not been an option. With Skillshare, you get to work at your own pace and watch classes on your own time, even in your pajamas if you want. This opened up a whole new world for me, and I am able to continue to learn and create on my own schedule. I feel like it is so important to keep learning and growing and creating, and Skillshare gives me that opportunity, and they want to do the same for you. What sort of classes are available? Well, there are too many to list, but just to highlight a few, you can take classes in woodworking, photography, watercolor, interior decorating and design, organization, or self-care, just to name a few. I have had so much fun taking the class Baking for Beginners, Mouthwatering Mexican Desserts by Yvette Marquez. The class is around 40 minutes long and is broken into 10 sections, and she goes over how to make pineapple empanadas and tres leches cake. With super easy instruction, anyone can succeed in this class. If I can do it, you can too, and I want to give you the opportunity to try. Skillshare has partnered with me to give you 1 month for free. Yes, that's right. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description box or my code FarmCharmChic will get a 1 month free trial of Skillshare. You get access to their entire catalog to try and experience. So what are you waiting for? Click that link in my description box or use my code FarmCharmChic for your free month of Skillshare. Let's get back to the DIYs. I just recently found this jar at Dollar Tree and I loved the raised detail in the glasswork. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. So I'm just going to remove that sticker from the bottom and then I'm going to paint this jar. So I first start with a coat of Mod Podge, hoping that that would let the chalk paint I'm going to use adhere a little bit better so it wouldn't wipe off quite so easily or chip soak quite so easily. Hopefully that makes sense. So I thought it was a great base to start with. So this is just your generic regular gloss Mod Podge, and I just cover the entire jar with this. I thought it would be really pretty to use a light green color. This is the color Celery in Waverly's chalk paint, but whatever color matches your decor or whatever color that you have that you would want to use or easily accessible, go ahead and do that. I just really like this green color. It's not quite a faux jadeite color. It's not quite, I don't know how to describe it, but it's a little bit more pale than what a jadeite color, but it still ends up being really pretty. And with that raised detail on the jar, it's perfect to be able to go in with a different, like a distressing color and have that detail pop. So you'll see me do that here in just a moment. I just take a little teeny chip brush or stencil brush and I just lightly dip it in my white chalk paint. I kind of dab it on a paper towel to get the excess off, and then I just run that over the entire jar, over those raised areas, and it just adds that little extra bit of dimension. This would be really pretty if you painted this like a white or a light color like that and then did like a little bit of antiquing wax over it. Would look really pretty, or even like a mineral color or something. Anything that's a contrasting color over that raised detail always makes a very pretty type of texture to it, and I just love that. So it came with this copper lid, which is very cute on it. You could put that on it and have it like that, but I found these little jar lids at Dollar Tree when I was there the other day, and they're meant for floral arrangements, so you can kind of put your floral picks in and it holds them so they don't all like clump to one side or anything. I thought this was a very brilliant idea, so I grabbed some of these. So I'm just taking some various florals that I have. Some of these are from Dollar Tree, some of them are just from my stash, and I just kind of cut different little sprigs off of these picks and then just kind of separately place each one into those little holes that are provided in the top of that lid. It takes a minute to kind of play around with. I am by no means an arranger of flowers. So, I just kind of do what looks pleasing to my eye. So I just kind of takes a minute. You just kind of look at it as you're turning it around or look at it from different angles. And if it looks like it needs something else, honestly, if I can do this, I feel like anybody can. But I just stick a little bit of this eucalyptus greenery in there too. I thought that added a nice little touch and a little bit of a different color of green in there. And I just went with it, and it turns out absolutely beautiful in my opinion. Here you can really see that detail in that jar. I absolutely love this, and it was super easy to do. What do you guys think of this? I absolutely love making fun little things with these trays from Dollar Tree. So I am just taking it, and I will list the spray paint that I use down in my description box, but it is a type of like outdoor paint that kind of gives it like a hammered metal look. Look down in my description box and I'll leave you the name and everything of what it is. And if I can find a link on Amazon, I'll leave that as well. But I'm taking these little paper placemats from Hobby Lobby. Guys, I always find these left over from like the season. I feel like they maybe don't sell as well. People don't know what to do with them or something, because I always find them and they're so cute. So I just traced the base of the tray on the my little placemat there, and now I'm just kind of pushing it into the edge here to kind of make another, I'm making a template is what I'm going to do, so I'll use this to cut another one out. So I'm just cutting around all of the edge to make sure that it fits in the center of that tray. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing and it's making sense to you. So I'll just kind of put that in. It fits great, so I'll put it on another one. This is my final piece here. I will trace this out because that first piece kind of got wrinkled and everything when I was playing around with it, and I will just cut this one out, and we're just going to adhere this to the tray. Now I'm just using my purple school glue. This is just like a glue stick from Elmer's, and I'm just going to put this on the base of the platter here and then use the placemat to stick down on there. I've had a couple of questions asking how well this glue holds up. I have done projects with this that are like 2 or 3 years old or more, and I have not had any problem with the paper lifting up. I do recommend using a higher quality. I have used just like the Jot or JOT brand from Dollar Tree glue, and it has not held up as well on some projects. So I'm just saying, like, maybe use a higher end of glue stick if you're planning on reselling these or having longevity. I have not had a problem with this purple school glue, which is why I use it nonstop. But I'm just using my brayer here, and I'm just going to smooth out any wrinkles or anything. And then I am just going to take Mod Podge and first go around the edges of the paper to seal those down, and then I will Mod Podge the entire piece of paper. The Mod Podge is just going to help seal this, and I do end up going around the entire tray with it as well. This is not going to be food safe, so I just want to point that out. This is just for decorative purposes only. I have a china hutch that I like to put different dishes and things in, and this is always cute to have this platter size in there as a background. Now, I was using a type of Mod Podge that was called like hard coat or something. You can see here, it's just what I happen to have and grab. I probably would just do a normal shiny gloss next time on it, so just fair warning on that. But I think it still turned out really cute, and it's going to look absolutely darling in my china hutch. I went to a different Dollar Tree than I normally go to, and they had these cute little shapes like this. Now this, when it's sitting down, it looks like it's like a jewelry tray or something, but it actually has a little stand on the back that it's like supposed to be like a standing frame type thing. And I thought this was the perfect size to use this little Farmhouse wreath from the rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree with. And I have a couple of these left hanging around, and so I thought I would to put the transfer on this. So I just cut that little wreath out, just careful not to disturb any of the rest of the transfer in case I want to use it. I just place it in there just to see if it fits, and then all you do with these rub-on transfers is you just peel the back off, and then you're just going to gently place it down where you want. You don't get many opportunities to like lift it up and place it down, so you want to make sure when you're placing it down you're kind of committed to that area. And then I just use a craft stick, and I'm just rubbing all the way around. You just want to make sure that you get all of the areas, the edges really well. Just rub it everywhere and make sure that it's just going to transfer from that piece of plastic onto your design. Now, at one point I will go and I will lift this up right here and check, and I can see that it's not quite as rubbed on as I want. So I just go back in, press a little harder, go around it one more time, and then you'll just check it again. And you just want to lightly check it because you don't want to peel it off and have your transfer come back with you. So you just want to make sure that you check it a couple of times before you completely commit to peeling it off. And then when you do peel it off, you're just going to go in a slow motion because you want to make sure that everywhere, because if you get to a point that you're like, oh, that didn't transfer, you can immediately place it back down and rub it off. But look at how cute that looks. I just love this. Super simple and easy, and I think it's darling. I have this bucket from Dollar Tree, and I think it's darling the way that it is, but when I got home I realized that the handle was kind of coming off. So I just decided to take them both off because I didn't really know how to fix that really. So I kind of have an idea that I'm going to do for the handles, but first I'm going to take these little stickers that are just like these little raised bead stickers, and I'm going to run them around the top and the bottom. They're super easy to work with, and you just kind of get your spacing there. They stick very, very well, so you kind of want to make sure when you stick them down that you know where you're sticking them. So they're a little difficult to kind of pull up once they're down, but you can see how easy they are. And if you have to, once you get to the other end and you need to take some off, you can just kind of pull them and they just rip apart. So fun. And what I'm going to do is we're going to paint over these, and so it will look good, I promise. Now, I think these buckets are so cute the way that they are, but you know, I'm here to kind of give you some inspiration to show you some different ways to decorate things. So I don't want you saying like, oh, the bucket was beautiful before, because I know it was, but this is kind of fun to make it match your decor a little bit more and make it more for you. Now, I'm just using my Crop-A-Dial tool, and I will link that in my description box down below to make those holes just a little bit bigger, because I'm going to use some rope to go through those after I get this all painted. So I just go through and I paint this. I actually did one coat of chalk paint here, and then I actually went out into my garage and spray painted it because those beads are a little difficult to get the chalk paint to stick to. Now, to give it a little detail so you can see that little raised area, I just take some elephant chalk paint, but you could use like mineral, or you could even use antiquing wax, and just lightly go over those beads, and that's just going to make them pop. They kind of blend in if you leave them all white and don't do this step here. It would be fine if you did, but this is the way you definitely notice them. And I like everything weathered and distressed. With what's left in my brush, I kind of just go over the middle portion of this cute little bucket here. I go up and down like the seam and everything, just give it kind of a little bit of an aged look, like it's had a plant in it and it's gotten a little bit dirty. And then I'm just going to tape off the end of my rope. This rope came from Dollar Tree, and I am just going to feed it through and tie it, and then I'll feed the other. You'll kind of see how I'm doing it here, and then just tie it off on both sides, just tying that very tight, and then I pull it against the pail there, the bucket, to make sure that it is tight, and then I will cut off the end. And you can see here that I've got that other side. I just decide my length, I cut it off and tie it, and I'll just do this on both sides to give it something cute, something a little bit different for the handle, especially since I had the broken handle on it. So this part would be completely optional, but I do like how it looks. It gives it a very farmhouse vibe. This plant is from IKEA. They fit perfectly in there. If you want them to sit up just a little bit, you'd put just a couple tumbling tower blocks in the base of it. But I think this turned out so cute, and it's perfect for every day. You could even embellish the front part of this if you wanted to. I kind of like the simplicity of it, leaving it like this. I picked up this really dated frame at a thrift store maybe like a year ago and have just been waiting for the perfect project. And I have picked up a few of these little plastic stick-on tiles from Dollar Tree, and I have seen a lot of pictures of like the tin, like the pressed tin like this, that has been very distressed, like in a frame. And I thought I would give it a try with the Dollar Tree press on tile. So let's see how it turns out. The first thing was I cut it down to size, as you saw, and now I am just going to cover the complete front of it in white paint, and it does take a few coats. So now to address the frame, I wipe it all the way down, and then I am going to cover this in white paint as well. And it does take 2 or 3 coats. I want it coated really, really good. Now I want this frame to pop against the white of that tile that's going to be in there. So I'm going to put a decent amount of antiquing wax on my brush and kind of dab it so it's not going to be goopy when I put it on. And I'm going to go over all of the edges of this frame. And I maybe do like 2 sides before I dip it back in my antiquing wax. And then I pay special attention to like the corners and stuff to make those stand out. I just felt that the frame had a very dated finish on it to begin with, and so that's why I decided to kind of paint it white and go over it, and I end up doing a lot of this antiquing wax on it because I wanted a good contrast and I liked this look a little bit better. So again, you can see I dip it in the antiquing wax, and then I'm just going to go over, and as it gets lighter on your brush, you're just gonna like press a little bit harder, and it just really gives a nice finish to it. And then using this metallic acrylic paint, I am going to go over all of the raised spots. So I put it on my brush. I wipe my brush off a little bit so it's not going to be globby when I put it on. And then I'm just going over the tile, and you can see all of those little raised areas it picks up on. So I go completely over the whole tile, and then I am also going to use some elephant chalk paint to kind of bring in a little bit darker feel to it as well. The feel I'm going for is I want it to look like it was painted at one time, like it was that dark steel color, metal tin, whatever. And then like as the paint wore away years, on those raised area, that it looks distressed. So that's the feel I'm going for. And so as well as doing the elephant chalk paint and the metallic paint, I also go in and dry brush a little white over it as well to kind of mute down some areas. And honestly, I just do that all over the whole thing until I get the feel and the look that I want between the metallic, the elephant chalk paint, and the white. So I just peel the backing off of this tile, and I just stick it directly on the mat that came into the frame. And you notice there that it wasn't quite long enough, so I did just trim a piece off from the side that I cut when I cut it down and just painted it and everything to match. So I am just using some super glue, and I will just press down until that has a firm hold there, and then I will just cut it to match the mat on the back. And honestly, when you're looking at it, you really cannot tell that it's there, that it's, not one piece. And I'm just taking my staple gun and I am stapling it directly into the frame here so it's nice and secure. And oh my gosh, I love how this turned out. It is such a great layering piece to have in your decor. I just love this. And you can see here I added a wreath to the frame, and I just think it turns out absolutely beautiful. I would love to know your thoughts on this down in the comments. Don't forget that I'm on Instagram also. I love to meet new Insta friends, so I would love for you to come over and say hi, check out my page, and see all the latest projects that I'm working on. I'll be sure and leave a link down in my description box so you can easily find me. This is one of my most favorite projects from Dollar Tree ever. I love how this turns out. I'm sure you have seen these little plastic storage containers for like cookies and treats. Dollar Tree seems to have them for every season or holiday. There are so many different uses for them, so if you find them, pick up a couple so you can do some projects too. But I am just using some of the rope from Dollar Tree as well as some of the nautical rope. Now, the nautical rope that I had did come from Hobby Lobby, but I do have a bunch and I have seen it lots of times at Dollar Tree, so you can easily just use that as well. I just happen to have like a great big spool of it, so I'm just working through that. So you can see I left a little gap on that bottom row so I could kind of feed up some more. So I had just like a little piece that I was putting on the bottom row. And so that's how I'm getting the next row to come and look very cohesive. And of course you may have a couple of seams. You're going to try to get all your seams lined up as close as you can on one space. So that way you can kind of turn that to the back when you're displaying it. So I'm going to do about 3 rows of the rope, and then I'll go in and do 2 rows with the nautical rope. And this project is really so easy. If you can use a hot glue gun and like turn something around in a circle, like you can totally do this. So you just do a little bit of hot glue, place your rope, let it dry a little bit so you can move on to the next area and just work in little areas, being careful not to do like your bead of hot glue. You don't want a whole bunch coming out, just a little bead, place your rope, let it dry, and just keep spinning until you get the desired amount of rows for the pattern that you're going for. When you're starting a new portion with the rope, you're just going to put a little bit of hot glue around that and let that dry. That's going to stop any fraying from happening. So you'll just have to do that when you start each new row or a new piece of rope. Now you'll be able to see where my seams are all kind of lining up at the back. So that's what you're going to try to do, is have one cohesive area like that. So that way, you know, you can kind of tuck that away and hide it. Now, when you get to the top, I'm just going to make sure that I go up above the plastic container so it kind of finishes it off with a little bit of a nicer look. Now, I also have one of these little oval shaped tins that I did from Dollar Tree, and look at how cute they look. I just got a couple of like IKEA plants to put in them. You could do whatever floral arrangements you wanted. You could use them for so many different things, but I love how these turned out. I feel like they are truly so high-end and nobody would know that it was Dollar Tree. I have this little oval sign left over from Christmas time, and I just used some spackling to cover in that little hole at the top, sand it down, and I'm just going to cover this completely in some white chalk paint. You can totally pick your own colors that match your own decor to do this. With this sign, I don't need this little end part here. It's a little bit taller than what I need, so I'm just using my saw to cut that off. To me, this oval shape looked kind of like an egg, so I thought it would be fun to make like a little farm fresh egg sign out of it. So I'm just going to use my cutting machine to cut out where it says farm fresh eggs here. And I got this from Cricut Design Space, but you could definitely freehand something. You can use the water slide decal paper, print on tissue paper. There's so many different options that you can do and use to get whatever type of lettering you want on your sign. And then I'm just showing you I have this cute little rooster that is a Christmas ornament left over. It's from Hobby Lobby. Guys, if you're ever looking for something for tiered trays or to have for some little different embellishments here and there, when the Christmas ornaments come out at Hobby Lobby, think of that as you're looking through them. I am just going to cover the back of the sign up, so I'm just cutting some craft paper down to size. I'll take some hot glue and run it all around the perimeter of the sign, and then I will just take my brayer. I do have a link for that down in my description box, and I just roll that hot glue while it's still warm, and it just kind of spreads it out a little bit, and it's going to make that paper stick. Then I just cut it as close as I can, and then I will take my little sander and I will just, in a slow downward motion, sand around all of the edges, and that backing will look like it was meant to go on the sign and made for it. So now I just take my cute little chicken and I just put hot glue all over the back side. I'm just going to turn it over and glue it to the top portion of the sign. I decided to kind of have it peeking up over the top there. That is completely personal preference there. And then I just used some tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree to put on either side and sandwich and make a little stand for it. And now I just take one of these little egg cartons. I can't remember if I got this one at Dollar Tree or Walmart. You get them either place, and they come with a bunch of little fake eggs inside of it. And I'm just gluing that to the back of the sign, and then I'm just gluing a couple little tumbling tower blocks onto the bottom of it so it can stand upright. Just put my cute little eggs in there, and now I'm just going to kind of do some embellishing. I like to go over my vinyl with a little bit of white paint in my brush to kind of make it look not so shiny. And then I always go around the edge of my items with, not always, but most of the time, with a little bit of antiquing wax to give it a little bit of age and embellishing farmhouse look. Look how cute this looks. I'm so excited to put this in my china hutch with these cute little eggs there. I think this is so fun. I love it. I would love to know what you think of this one. I get a lot of comments on this particular riser. I use it a lot in some photos that I do when my little final reveals a lot, and I get a lot of comments on it whenever I use it. So I'm just taking one of these little hanging planter baskets from Dollar Tree, and I am cutting the bottom ring off, and then I'm just going to take an embroidery hoop, and then I have this little wood round from Hobby Lobby. So I'm just going to, and you could even use like a wood sign, like a round sign from Dollar Tree. It doesn't have to be those. That's what I had, so that's what I'm using. And I am going to take some wooden beads, and I'll leave a link for these down in my description box. I just buy them off Amazon. They're fairly cheap, and you get a ton of them. And I just go ahead and glue these all around one at a time. It takes a little bit of time to do this, but you do want to take your time and make sure that they're even and everything like that. Whenever I've seen like these little beaded trays like this at the craft stores or the boutiques or anything, like they look very well done. So you just want to take your time so it looks very high end. After you get all of your beads glued on, you're going to go ahead and stain all the beads. Now, I don't know why I did the inside of this because I'm going to glue another piece onto this. You're never going to see the inside of it, but I guess I was just being an overachiever this day. But you're just going to stain all of this. I'm using an antiquing wax. Some brown paint with some water would do basically the same thing. You could do whatever color. You could leave it natural if you wanted, however you wanted to do this. But I do take my brush and I dry brush over that embroidery hoop as well, so that way it matches and it's all looking like one piece. To glue these pieces together, I am going to use this little square piece that I got in a pack of like 5 or 6 from Dollar Tree, and I just stain it also, so if you see it from underneath, that way it'll kind of blend in. And I'm just using that as a stability piece for this round topper that's going to go on here, so that way it doesn't kind of wobble or anything. It just adds a little more stability and a little more surface area to glue. So I did just trace out the square of where I wanted to glue it, so when I went to put it back on, I knew exactly where to put it. But how cute is this little riser? I just love this. I think this is so farmhouse. It is so fun. I think it's absolutely adorable. I love using it. I really hope that you enjoyed watching these neutral Dollar Tree DIYs. It was so much fun making them and compiling them together in this video. I absolutely love them all. I would love to know which of these inspired you the most today. I always love hearing from you guys, so make sure you let me know down in the comments. And then don't forget to click that link to find more out about Skillshare. I am so excited for you to go give them a try for 30 days free. Let me know if you do sign up what your favorite classes are, because I'm always looking for new classes to take. Remember to be safe, be smart, be nice, be happy. Choose to have a good day because you are amazing. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed the video that you just saw, here's another one that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching and have an amazing day.